Hi everyone, Pamela Seals here again. This will be my second video, so if you haven't seen my first one, you may not know who I am. In my first video, I started talking about why I've made the decision to record my weight loss journey and why I'm in the process of transitioning from the standard American diet, which we call the SAD diet, to a much more strict version of a low carb diet that I did an experiment in the month of September to go full on keto, carnivore. And so my decision for carnivore, for those of you who want to know kind of what I ate, my decision was that I needed to really get my blood sugars down. I needed to start healing my liver because I clearly have fatty liver disease. I'm also extremely highly insulin resistant. I'm terrified of the thought of getting Alzheimer's. That's something that I really don't want to deal with. And I know that dementia and Alzheimer's is highly linked to uncontrolled blood sugars and insulin resistance. It also affects heart disease and all of those things. So kind of those are my why reasons. Obviously, being an obese adult my entire life, I would really like to not be obese as well. But ultimately, the things that are motivating me to keep moving are that my full health. And so if you saw in the last video, I had lost quite a bit of weight doing a lower carb, and I thought, yes, I'll do that again. And I started going lower carb with trying to stay under 75 to 50 grams of carbs a day, but it actually wasn't getting me where I wanted to go. So as I continued the dive down the YouTube rabbit hole and the podcast rabbit hole, I found my way to hearing about a proper human diet and found my way to hearing about carnivore. Now, I'm an environmental science teacher. I'm very conscious of my global footprint. I'm aware of how eating only meat is not necessarily sustainable for the planet. And all of those things are in my thoughts, right? But then I started to think to myself, it's like I have to take care of my health first, and then I'll figure out what I need to do to work on some of those other things. And so over the course of these blogs, I'm going to talk about how I'm going to offset my carbon footprint some, just because I know that there are a lot of people who think eating carnivore is very bad for the planet. And there's a lot of positive sides to it that we really don't discuss. So on September 1st through September 30th, I made the decision I was going to only eat meat-based, animal-based products. And so for me, animal-based products included all versions of meat, from meat to fish to chicken to pork. Eggs are included, but I don't enjoy eggs. I actually hate eggs. I've tried them in every way possible, and I don't like eggs. So for those of you who love eggs, I know that makes this so much easier, but it's not so much for me. And I included dairy in my diet. So for me, dairy includes the full fat versions of cheese, the full fat versions of sour cream, full fat versions of like heavy whipping cream. I don't drink milk. I'm not going to use milk just by itself, and neither raw or any of those other things that other people talk about. I'm definitely cooking with only butter. I got rid of all the margarines. I am still using occasionally olive oil to cook with, but not in large quantities. And I am still using seasonings. So for the month of September, I made the decision that I was going to go, in my opinion, full carnivore. And this entry is kind of like, what did I experience? So now that you know what I was eating, let's just talk about some of the challenges, right? A lot of people talk about the money and how much it costs to eat. I have found that going to my local grocery and getting a whole ribeye and having them cut it up for me, or going and getting large packs of meat and freezing them in portions, has actually been about the same cost for me as when I was eating full-on vegetables and trying to do keto using some of the keto substitutes, right? Like to get almond flour is very expensive. Monk fruit is very expensive. So I made the decision back in July to get rid of all processed and packaged stuff. So for about a month and a half, I was making some of those keto things, and I was making those things myself. I would buy vegetables and fruit, and then we wouldn't eat it fast enough. And of course, some of it would spoil. So my husband and I are saving money on the spoiled stuff. And I've been using a George Foreman-y type grill to grill my steaks and my hamburgers and things. So the time I'm saving personally on cooking, preparing sides is a lot of work. And so I told my husband for the month of September, since he was not going to go carnivore, that I'll make the meat and I will buy stuff for him to have for sides, like cans of green beans or coleslaw or something, but that I'm not going to be doing sides. So he has to tell me what sides he wants. Right. And so I've been making him some. For the most part, he's been eating less of the sides and more of the same things as I am. And so that was great. And as an obese adult who I don't have what other people will call vices, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't go out partying, I don't do those kinds of things. Food was always kind of my comfort. And so my husband and I every weekend would go to we go to the movies, and we would get the big tub of popcorn and we would get a drink. And I was a diabetic, so I know that I'm not gonna drink sugary drinks. So I was always drinking the zero sugar added lemonades. So it had artificial sweeteners. And so as part of September, I said no artificial sweeteners, all of that. And so I went to the movies the first time and he was eating the popcorn and drinking the drink. And I brought a bottle of water. I brought my own water, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, right? Like I wanted it. I could smell it sitting right next to me, but I had made a commitment to myself for the month of September, so I stuck to it. And that made me feel good, that I made it. That night we went out to dinner because that's what we do. We go to the movie, and then we go out to dinner on the weekends. Um, and it was really awkward in my heart. Like I didn't know how to not eat the sides. So I didn't eat them. I told my husband to order two extras and I would just give him mine. And so he got an extra bowl of soup and then he got some more vegetables. And so I just sat there eating a steak. And the steak was good. That was fine. But I wrestled emotionally with, is this the rest of my life? Do I have to give up things that I have enjoyed for the rest of my life? And it was just emotionally depressing. And I came home very frustrated and sad and upset. But I didn't stop. And so the next week goes by. I work at a school that provides lunch for us. And so the challenge was, is there food for me to eat there? And there were a couple days during the week that the only thing available to me was lunch meat and cheese. And that was incredibly unsatisfying, like depressingly so. So I started looking for options that I could bring for myself, things that I could do. I don't have access to a microwave right now at work, and so I couldn't like bring hamburger patties or something that I could just heat up and eat in my room. I also use my lunchtime at work to talk to other adults. I am a high school teacher, but I still like to talk to grown-ups, even though I'm not working with little bitty kids. And so lunch was a social time for me. And so there was that struggle, right? I want to use that as a social time, but I'm eating weird. Well, over the course of the next week or two, I realized nobody in my work cared what was on my plate. Like they just didn't even care. Some days they had, steak for us. Some days they had grilled chicken and I could eat what was there. They post a menu so I know in advance if I take the time to look for it. So nobody really cared what I was eating. The next weekend we went to the movies. He got the popcorn and drink. I was content because I didn't feel like people at the movie theater were looking at me weird because I had my own bottle of, a reusable bottle of water. And we went to dinner and it was still awkward. And I went home and I just like we had to choose a restaurant that I felt like I could eat at because there was going to be more meat. We went to a buffet that had options, and so I ate a bunch of meat and I felt less bad because nobody was really looking at my plate. So you notice this theme, right? Like I'm worried about what other people are going to think of me. I'm worried about what other people are going to judge. And work got started to get really stressful in the middle of September. And one of the things that I used to do always in my head was I would self-soothe myself with food, right? And during this month, I did some research. I listened to the Quit Sugar Summit, which was crazy that it just happened to be right in this month. And in that season, I listened to a woman talk about the addictive nature of food and the addictive nature of sugars and the dopamine responses that we get in our brain. And it really just got me thinking about how I use food to trigger those dopamine responses. how I use food to make me feel more relaxed and calm. And so I didn't break my fast, my carnivore, at that time during the stress. And then by the end of the third week, I didn't even really want to. Like I kind of got to this place where it was like the things that I missed weren't cupcakes and cookies. I wanted broccoli. I wanted lettuce. And I thought, oh gosh, this is crazy. I'm craving like vegetables. So anyway, but I start getting to the point where it's like, okay, I can do this. This is not bad. I started going home stressed out, overwhelmed, and not feeling the need to go binge on something, right? To go grab something I shouldn't eat. I just found other things to think about. I was eating twice a day. I ate twice a day most days. Every once in a while, I would get really hungry at like 10 something in the morning on like a weekend, and I would eat earlier than I used to. But in general, I was fine. Some days I really didn't want to eat until like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but as a teacher, I only had a certain time for lunch. So figuring that balance out with my fasting mindset as well as the carnivore mindset is very interesting. I started quitting eating in the middle of a meal if I really got full. I heard somebody say, and I don't remember who it was, but if you're not hungry enough to sit down and eat a ribeye and you just want something snackish or whatever, then you're not actually hungry. You're trying to fill yourself with something else. And so this mental battle was really hard. I went through a lot of the mourning of the style of eating and the style of living that my husband and I did together. We're still going out to eat. So by the third week, we went out to eat for dinner, and I just looked at the waitress at the beginning and I asked my husband before, I said, what do you want me to take home? So I got two sides. I had her wrap up the sides before she brought me my steak. So I've got my sides wrapped in a to-go box for Kevin for the next day. And I ate my steak and I was fine. And so by the end of the month, I had decided, okay, I'm going to reintroduce lettuce. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let myself have lettuce when it's like when I'm eating out. Okay, so when I go to a restaurant, can I have a side salad? So that's what I did the first couple weeks in October. And it makes me feel more normal at a restaurant, which I know sounds weird and I shouldn't worry about it. But I'm not eating the broccoli. I'm not eating those other things. I've added in lettuce, dill pickles, and avocados. And so for this month, the month of October, I'm allowing myself those things when we're out of the house. When I'm at home, I don't feel weird about eating like a ribeye with like 3 little chicken wings or trying making some, things like pork belly, and so on and so forth. So we'll see how it goes. I want to go ahead and show you my numbers and some after pictures that I'm embarrassed about, but it is what it is. And so we've got to go somewhere, right? So this was my numbers at the beginning of September, September 1st. Remember, I'm a type 2 diabetic, so I have a finger stick and a meter. I did buy a blood ketone meter that I did test myself kind of sporadically throughout the month. When I test myself, I am never below a 2.0 on ketones. I've been solidly in ketosis since the end of August when I started going keto and then moving my way into this. So this is the first week of October. Today is October 12th. So I went ahead and included my first week. If you look at my weekly average from the first week in September to the first week in October, I have lost about 10.5 pounds. My ketones are fine. My blood sugar numbers have dropped even more. My fasting numbers are even better. My calories, they range. It depends on the week. Some weeks I'm eating 2,100. Some weeks I'm eating 2,600. But if you look at my carbs, I'm down to like 12 grams of carbs on average, some days lower than others. I am still using the carb manager. If you look, this is my glucose monitor for 30 days. This is showing my average sugar pattern. So you see I'm still spiking a little bit in the morning when I wake up at like 6 a.m.-ish. But the rest of the day, it's stable because I'm eating meat. I'm eating cheese. These things are not spiking my glucose at all, which is very exciting. This is a graph of my weight loss for this year. If you notice, I was pretty daggum straight until I started lower carb in July. And now that I'm eating carnivore and things, it's just kind of dropping off the map. It's not going as fast as it was at first. I was losing like 4 pounds in a week. Obviously, some of that's inflammation. Now it seems like maybe I'm settling in at 1.5 pounds. I'm not entirely sure. So if I'm at 1.5 pounds a week, I'm happy with that. The thing that I'll say at the end of my month is that I am satisfied. Like I'm not hungry. And so many other diets I've been on have just made me hungry. This is awkward socially. This is awkward emotionally, but I'm not hungry. So for the month of October, I've added back in lettuce, avocados, and pickles. That's the only thing that I'm trying out outside the home. I probably will go back to more carnivore. I really do eat mostly meat at this point and dairy, and I'm pretty comfortable with it. So I'm going to show you my pictures. I figured I hadn't taken any really before-ish pictures, so I took some today on October 12th. And so this is where I am. I am a large woman with lots of bumps and lumps in places that I haven't had. If you look at that picture, I'm already 30 pounds down from my highest, most recent. So I've actually lost more than it shows. I was bigger than I am in this picture. I have dropped down at this point to a size 18-20 in my pants. I was a 24 when I started losing weight. So I'm very excited about the changes. I've been talking a really long time. I don't want to keep doing that. I know that you're probably tired of listening at this point, but that is my September update. Hopefully at the end of October, I'll be able to give you another update. Big news is I'm getting an air fryer today. I'm very excited to try out some of those recipes you guys have been sharing. So thanks a lot for listening, and I hope that your weight loss journey teaches you what works best for your body. Thank you.